Hey guys, welcome to Bastian time. This is This Week in Nintendo News. Let's get to those top stories. So once again, just like the last couple weeks, even though it's Nintendo news, it's actually really Zelda news part 2, because there's just so much Zelda fun stuff to talk about, not a whole lot of important Nintendo stuff to talk about. There are 3 kind of interesting Nintendo things, but I'll tag that at the very end of this video. So stay tuned. So our first couple stories are about some Zelda shoes. First of all, we've got some Majora's Mask shoes. They're hand-drawn on some white Vans canvas shoes, and it's a pretty nice job. Then we've got these Minish Cap shoes on some high-top Converse. It's just breathtaking. Don't think they're for sale, which is kind of irksome. I probably wouldn't buy them anyway. Plus, I mean, everybody has different size feet, so I'm pretty sure that if you contact this artist, you'll be able to maybe get some custom designed shoes for you. And so there'll be a link to that story with that artist's DeviantArt page down in the description. Our next story is about a handmade wooden dice tower. Now, what you could use this for, of course, are any games that involve dice. You sort of toss them into the top and they roll down, and that way you don't have to like hand roll them, and there's no cheating involved, basically. So if you play any games that involve dice, for instance Dungeons and Dragons, and I know at least one of you watching does play that game, so you know, this might be good for you. I personally don't have much need for a dice tower, but it's still pretty cool to see a dice tower get Zelda treatment. Our next story is about the Hylian semi-truck, and basically it's just a semi-truck owned by a Zelda fan who went ahead and got it custom painted to show the Triforce and the Hylian crest on it. It's pretty awesome if you've got to drive around the country in one of these things. May as well Zelda it up. Our next story is a woodcraft project that a fan made of 8-bit Link carved out of wood. Did a really nice job carving it and painting it. It's pretty awesome. It's not for sale or anything, but it'd be pretty cool to see hanging on a wall or something. So that's it for the Zelda news portion. Now we have some Nintendo-specific news. The first story is about there'll be apparently unified accounts for the 3DS and the Wii U, so that way you won't have to create a separate account for each of those. That's pretty awesome. So when you're doing your eShop, you won't have to invent, you know, a brand new username or password or whatever. You can just use the exact same account. I mean, it's not mind-blowing or anything, but it's nice that Nintendo has thought ahead to realize that that's something that, of course, we would want. Speaking of the Wii U and the 3DS, recently Mr. Iwata, the president of Nintendo, was asked some questions about the Wii U and so on, and one of the questions was, will it be possible for you to use your 3DS or even maybe your DS as a controller for the Wii U? And all he would say is that he could not comment on that at this time. That sounds kind of like a yes to me. If it were not possible, I think he probably would have been forthcoming with that and would have just said, no, that's not something we have in the works, but it sounds like that may be something that they'll want to announce at a later date. And it makes sense because the 3DS has touchscreen ability on it, and it just kind of seems reasonable that instead of having to buy a new separate second Wii U gamepad, if you already have a 3DS, why not just use that for your touchscreen? So that sounds pretty cool. But again, he did not confirm that as a possibility. He simply said he didn't want to comment on it at this time. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not that is something that they go ahead and announce. And then our final story is from that same set of question and answers with Mr. Iwata. He was asked, you know, what the price will be for the Wii U, when exactly it will be released, and so on, and what if there were any unannounced new games that were going to appear at launch or in the launch window. And all he would say is that those details will be announced this fall. So we've got quite a long wait ahead of us to get those pretty important details. The price, it's gonna be $2.99. I mean, it can't really be anything other than that. They're certainly not going to do it much lower than that. I couldn't imagine that they'll actually do a $2.50 price for it. As far as above that, I just really can't see them doing $3.50. It will limit the amount of people who are able to purchase their console, and that's something that they strive for, is to make the console as affordable as possible so as many people as possible can get them. So I really think it's going to be $2.99, and it's a little silly that they won't just confirm that price since it's been leaked everywhere, but we're just going to have to wait for that final announcement this fall. So that's it for this week in Zeltendo news. See you guys. There's no third video this week, unfortunately, but I'll see you guys this week for Zelda news on Friday. Bye! And then we have these Majora mask shoes. I got that backwards, didn't I? Yeah.